Had on the financial side, if we had somebody and a flu came in and knocked out half our staff, we'd be at a standstill forever. We really need people to be able to cross jog aisles and learn how to do something else. And what does that do? It gives them an opportunity to move up a step when that job becomes available.
Okay, thank you. So I wrote succession plan. From your comments, John. We have a couple of hands up, so let's hear from Brian, and then I saw a hand over here next.
Yeah, I just saw you write the succession plan up there, and that's something in my 10 years here, we've never had any succession planning. So I think that's big for the city going forward.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Robert.
So would you accept an application for permit for a local company or whatever? You put their name on a plaque and adopt a street to keep the litter down or whatever?
Interesting
Like
idea, yeah. And that could fall under this improved quality of life. So when I get to that, I'm going to, well, I'll put a sign, all we got, adopt a park or a street, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, I got that over there. Okay, all right. Yes, Keith.
Just on the item there, talk to churches. You get a lot more people wanting to help out when you talk to the churches.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, and this, working with local organizations, we've got that with promote community partnerships and events. We also have support community cleanup and other beautification events and opportunities, and those are both under the quality of life over here. So I think with this optimized organizational structure, I'm glad that this point was raised, as it's a great quality of life improvement. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to go to any other ideas. Oh, well, the old plan in 5 years ago is that hire a permanent public works director. Well, we've got one, so we're going to cross that off the list. Thank you, Justin. It also says, conduct survey of employees. Well, maybe we expand on that a bit. Maybe we say we do a regular survey, annual survey to assess satisfaction, identify workplace improvements, and guide organizational development. We need like some meat to it a little bit so we know what we're going after, and then we can measure our progress over time as we ask similar questions with each survey so that we can see, oh, here's where we were at, and now here, what's changed. Okay, any other ideas for this organizational structure before I move on? Yeah, Jim.
You were talking about the volunteerism. John touched on that too. And I just want to say, myself and only 3 others are on the 4th of July committee, and there's no bigger event in this city than the 4th of July. I think we can all agree on that. And when it comes to the volunteers, we can't get anyone. To ask somebody on a hot summer day to give up their holiday is a tough nut to crack. So I just wanted to bring that out. Anybody wants to volunteer, if they have some like that, boy, that's the place to go. Because we do the parade, we do, the park, we do the fireworks in the evening. It's a big task, and know anybody? Send them to us.
Thank you.
A doorway or a gate on the internet for anybody who wants to volunteer, or somebody moves to Atwater and they wanted to volunteer or they wanted to help, or because most of the time what happens is somebody makes a complaint and then you get volunteered. In private organizations.
I think that the Atwater 4th of July is put on by the city of Atwater. Nothing could be more from the church.
I'm writing volunteer pathways. We need just better communication on how people can start to volunteer, and maybe a portal that has links to different organizations where you can say, if you want to do this, help out with this, Okay, perfect. Thank you for all that. It sounds like people are kind of inching their way towards this quality of life stuff. We got some good ideas over there. Let me touch on promote economic development next. Sustainability within the town, use and refurbish old buildings and lots. Yeah, we've got that CDD trailer. It's used for storage right now. We've got some boxes in there, but You have a comment? Maybe a different site?
I'll just say that I would like to add to that for us to do some better exploration with the Ferrari Ranch so that we can figure out what we need to do to get that moving. I know, Chris, you recently brought something to council for us to approve regarding the Ferrari Ranch, but I just think we need to really, really dig into that.
Yeah. I could talk about that right now if you like, just to touch on it. So,
See, the biggest thing I think
Yeah.
right now is going to be streamlining the permitting process, which you have on here, and going to the online system like we've been doing.
Yep.
That's going to be key to moving forward as well.
Okay.
It shouldn't take 90 days. It means to be 15.
Right. Thank you.
And I agree with Brian and Ms. Rochester also on streamlining as much as we can. I think we really need to either form a group of individuals to go out and try to get businesses into coming in here and develop a list of what our accomplishments are, what our desires are, and what we can do to help. If we have a business that wants to come in here and wants to hire 350 people, we should give them an open book and say, you know what, here's our city. We want you to come in here. We want you to hire a whole bunch of people. And we want to give you this. We can help you with this land. We can help you do this. We can do as much as we can in Ferrari Ranch, you know, but we're going to need their help too. We're going to need their help in helping to develop the infrastructure to get in there. And that's why Ferrari Ranch, the whole plan, folded because no hospital wanted to spend $5 million to put a hospital in when it's going to take them 10 years to recover that $5 million. So we got to come up with an idea and strategize very hard. And I think we should form this group and then have them come back to the city council in every year and say, this is what we've done, this is what we want to do. And I have zero problem sitting on that committee or even running that committee. God help me if I don't have to, but I'd be more than willing to do that and get us going in that direction.
Thank you for that. Danny, you had something? Or, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe we should actually look into doing it either in-house or outsource this, but do a SWOT analysis on the city. This way we can come up with an actual plan, you know, what is Antwater's strength, what are our weaknesses, and you know, and so forth. And then find out, okay, or then come up also with incentives for some of these businesses or industrial, come up with a plan of how to actually attract them here.
Okay, yeah. Jim?
What Danny said is correct. You know, the strengths, weaknesses in some kind of a plan is paramount, and to the negatives to make them seem like or be a positive, and put that into the plan. Also, one of the other things that I really truly believe the city needs to do is there's a trade show annually in Las Vegas that goes to retail and that type of thing. My good buddy and former mayor of Los Banos, Mike Villalta, was telling me back in 2017 how he and one or two other people from the city went over to that. They went in for the first time in there and met with all the big hitters over there and came back to Los Banos with 5 new businesses from that one meeting. And he said, Jim, you guys have everything better than we do. You've got, he mentioned Ferrari Ranch. He also mentioned that Highway 99 is rolling right on through us. And he says that is exactly what every one of these businesses want. They want that high volume traffic that's going by, that's going to see a sign and put them right into our city and spending their money. And I thought that was a really good idea, and that, you know, rather than embarking on trips to DC that bring back nothing, we should be going to Vegas, and Vegas, baby.
Chris, I have a,
Yeah, it's between Buhack and Gurr, yeah. Yes,
just
Anna.
a quick comment on economic development. I'm going to go back several minutes ago. Mr. Price and Mr. Kale, they were talking about businesses going to neighboring cities, and what they're referring to is sales tax leakage, that concept known as leakage. And so maybe we might want to consider doing a survey for the residents on what kind of businesses they want to see come in, what businesses are they frequenting in neighboring cities, and then that kind of gives a compass of target businesses to go after. And then it helps on the communication goal too.
That's my idea. We need manufacturing. We need the manufacturing, you know, which will generate, as John said, 300 jobs possibly, or something along those lines. You know, what we want is great. I wanted to see Red Robin here. I didn't get it. There was even, we made contact back then with Bass Pro Shop, and they were amazed that we contacted them, and they said, nobody ever contacts us. We always contact somebody else. Well, it never happened that they showed up for a variety of different reasons. But the thing of it is that, yeah, it's great to go and tell people, you know, tell us what you want, but it coupled with that has to be what we need. And what we need here is a manufacturing base where we're going to have that point of sale, jobs, all of those economic multipliers that will, you know, throw the revenue to us.
When is the parkway going to get put in? Because, I mean, that'll make the Ferrari Ranch a lot more attractive when you have that major artery going towards the college. And the other thing about manufacturing, we're in the state of California. They don't want manufacturers.
One thing too on all what we're talking about, bringing businesses in, going out and finding businesses to bring them in. The first, whenever they come, whenever we get them, you know, we dangle that carrot and we bring them here. They're going to come in. They're like, "What are your impact fees? What's your permitting processes? You know, all that stuff." And like, we need a comprehensive review and overhaul of our municipal code, especially for zoning. Throughout the years, we just, you know, directors and stuff bring things and they make a change to it because of feedback that they're getting from the development community, and it sounds great, but then once it's adopted and put in the municipal code and you go through the process, you find out that it just like made things worse. You know, we're going to disconnect this because it's going to make it better. Well, then, you know, you've got people that get led down a path that say they've got to do X, Y, and Z, but then they had to do A, B, and C also, but they don't find out until they get to the end. You guys all know I'm in the development community. I deal with this every day, and I've got every project that I've gotten at Atwater, I have angry developers. I have angry clients, and it's tough. So, I mean, the municipal, and like I said, a comprehensive review of it, because there are things that are broken in it that we tried to fix here, but we forgot that X, Y, and Z were tied to that.
Yeah, that's good. These are all good ideas, and these are things we've been talking about for several years about doing. Now we have a city manager that can make it happen. We have a finance director that knows finances, and we have all the other people here that help make this happen. But, you know, there are good things going on in economic development. One, the general plan update, which is supposed to be done end of this year, first of next year, fingers crossed. But I've been pushing that for 5 years. We're finally getting it done. The Bellevue Road extension is going to help with that annexation process too, once we get the update done. And for the AME too, that was being held up by the federal government and the EPA. What I heard from the public works director for the county the other day is that they approved the little hang up that they had. They approved that, and so now it can start moving forward with that. NEPA, yes. And exactly. And the Supreme Court yesterday apparently limited the scope of NEPA also. So the headline was that the Supreme Court has thrown out 30 years of pollution protection for Californians. So I didn't quite, if you read the article, it's not that. But things are moving along. They don't move along as fast as we want them to, unfortunately. But we are moving in the right direction, and thank you very much for your comments.
I'll just say, like, tagging on to the mayor's comments about the general report, we have excellent data on our own website, the city's website that I have here, where we have conducted community outreach to ask our community what they want. This report is from 2024. And then to Councilman Ambreese's point, we also have an existing conditions report. All very excellent information that I'm sure the city has paid a lot of money for. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel and go back and spend a lot of money on these things. I think we just need to actually read these reports. And they contain a lot of really, really good information in them. In fact, I can see one of the little comment cards that I did when the city was doing its outreach. And I remember attending those workshops, and I think they were very valuable. One thing that I want to bring up, because I know my friend Robin's not going to bring it up, and she said it many, many times, and I love her dearly, is that we need to really also, we're talking about, we got to bring in businesses, and we got to look at, and I said at Ferrari Ranch, but we also need to take care of what we have. And so we really, really need to make sure that we're addressing our existing infrastructure. My friend Keith has pointed out to us too, we have all of these buildings that are just sitting around rotting, and we need to do a better job with getting those projects moved along as well. So I just said it for you, Robin, because I didn't think you would.
So I'm writing retain existing businesses, and that's, I think, a core, that's a fundamental thing. So it almost belongs in the purpose at the beginning of the section.
So, Chris, if I may.
Yeah.
Mr. City Manager, I apologize. Puts one of the biggest things into what Jim's talking about, manufacturing, is going to be pushing the Bellevue 99 project through and annexing that to bring that in so we have more property so we can make that happen. And I know I've mentioned this in the past that we did it, but it didn't have much promotion. But, Keith's talking about blighted buildings, empty buildings. We should look at the vacant building sales tax credit again. And that way we can use that to promote, to try to get businesses. And usually it's 50% of the city share for a couple years. And then, that way we can use that to go to the ICSC conferences and try to bring the businesses in.
I just wanted to point out that big gray building on, is it Drakely with all the windows? I moved here in 71, and I was a little kid, but it's always been there, and I never know if anything's ever happened in that building. That would be cool for like art galleries. There is a creative side to Atwater. There's lots of artists in this area that are going to Merced and Turlock, but I think it would be a neat, you've got that industrial look right there. We could refurbish that building, put, a couple hundred, maybe, I probably could 200,000 at least to refurbish that, but it's already there. Would that be something that we could do with that? And then the old, there's an old, and I don't know, it's kind of downtown, but it's right across the back street of the post office. There's that old grocery store. It's been vacant for years. And either we need to tear it down or get it up and running again, but, you don't know what kind of creatures are in there. It's been, who knows. But I'm just saying, we've got all these vacant places and lots and broken down things, and I'm all for sustainability is getting to be really big in California. And in fact, Chico State is really on the ground floor of this. and working with growers and business people and using the old buildings and putting in new businesses or part of the university or whatever. But I just feel that our community, it's a beautiful town. And whenever we go looking at towns, first thing we do is go to the old town. And we want to see the old downtown area and what's flourishing there. And usually it's antique stores and artsies and all kind of cool little nookie restaurants and, you know, just fun stuff. I could see Atwater being that. You know, I don't feel we need to go at this point in time going way out in the, you know, in the ag land and building and starting fresh when we've got cool stuff here. And we don't have to be a big place, though we do need manufacturers or something for jobs. I mean, I get that. We got to keep up with what's going on in the area, but we also need to preserve our little heritage here in Atwater. And, you know, how many smoke shops do we need? How many cannabis shops do we need? I know you get revenue from it, but, you know, how many nail salons? How many, you know, I just, I'd like to see more quality come in. Boutiques, specialty shops, bookstores. You know, people don't read a book, but you know what? There might be a time when our electronics die and a book is cool to hold and you can make notes and write in it. I mean, I like a book. I just think some of those things are missing and more hands-on things. And we've got the Bloss House Park that people, you know, they start a project and then it gets to be too much because only 2 people are doing it. And we need to just take care of our infrastructure. The parks, the play parks, when my children were little, they, you know, I think they're a lot better than they were. We did have some homeless issues, but that kind of got cleared up because they were damaging things. That's why Ralston Park doesn't have a bathroom anymore. You know, I'm kind of all for having extra police at night and checking all those little places out. You know, there's a lot of nice areas in Atwater. And activities, you know, Parks and Rec offer a lot of great things for adults and children. I'd like to see more aquatics come back, swimming lessons, utilizing we've got 2 wonderful pools. You know, how come the city can't rent the pool from the district like they used to do back in the day? I mean, or even just do a lap swim and everybody pay $30 a month because that's what Merced College is requiring to pay. You got a lifeguard on duty. Everybody has to be able to swim, so you have to have a criteria. And, you know, open it up to the public. Get some fitness in this town. I've got arthritis and some other ailments, and I don't want to drive all the way to Merced College to get in the water and swim when I live right by Atwater High. You know, maybe it's something they could do in the summer and maybe utilize later in, you know, during the off season or something. I don't know. I just think we got a lot of great stuff here. And again, I was brought here when I was 7 years old in 1971. And my dad had his first tour in Vietnam, and we got shipped over here to Castle. And this town, I remember being a 7, 8-year-old, riding my bike from High Street, the little flat top houses. It's all we could do to get rent. And I would ride my bike with some friends from the neighborhood to Foster Freeze. And then maybe when I was a little older, we'd go to the high school, watch a basketball game, and, you know, stuff like that. Having that freedom to go and do, and there was, you know, going to the public pool, the plunge. We used to walk to the plunge. And later on, I worked as a lifeguard and swim instructor at both of those pools. And the plunge was the best.
So I'm going to write city pool right here.
City pool. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, anyway,
So-
that's my history.
so-
Thank you.
You have to remember that the city is at the whim of the owner. owner of the business, owner of the house, the building that you were talking about by City Hall, for some reason they think that a building is worth a lot more than it should and didn't want to budge. We attempted to buy that building, and they were like so out of range, it was incredible. And so they lost money by doing that, and it's been sitting there ever since. The other building that I believe you were talking about is the old creamery. And the owner of that creamery, the building, is Dave Souza, who owns Carbon Cash. And he wants to move his building in his business into there. And he got stopped by the city because it was going to cost him $1 million to put the electricity underground. And we go back to what Adam said, we got to stop our codes from requiring that, and we got to accept that, saying, hey, you want to improve our city by putting a business here and taking a delightful building and changing it into something good, we need to help them do that. And we're not doing that. And that's one of the things we really need to do.
Yeah, so we met with him and we actually cleared that hurdle.
Oh, great.
So the undergrounding and utility there is not necessary.
Okay, good.
Yeah. All right, I want to make sure I get through everything else on here because people wrote other ideas up here. I've kind of interspersed with the black marker where I could find a little space to write some other things that have come up during our discussion. So reach out to potential attractive businesses to collaborate, fix the roads, beautify Atwater Boulevard land and buildings. And then we've got new residential development, new commercial development. Just start doing economic development. Absolutely. We brought this up a couple times. Streamline the approval processes. That's in that's in here. Attract the right businesses to come that will provide residents with quality jobs. And I think that goes back to one thing you were talking about, just diversifying the different things. We used to have, we used to have different things that we could do. So we need to look at different kinds of businesses so we don't only get the same type of restaurant, but different kinds maybe.
Well, see, and to touch on that, Chris, real quick, is maybe even getting... I'm dying now. I haven't talked this much at a meeting in a long time. Maybe like a recruiter for businesses. That way they can go out on the, kind of go looking for what we need, what the city needs, and pay them, make it merit-based. So much increase to the tax revenue, they get a bonus, something like that.
Yeah, so we have 5.3 explore opportunities to hire an economic development manager. So you're saying maybe we make that person
Yeah, we don't want that liability on the city all the time. So
we have maybe a consultant.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's been a lot of talk about Ferrari Ranch, and what John was saying is one of the factors no one really talks about is the owners. So we have to deal with them going forward too.
Yeah, so an economic development consultant, and then just finish reading the ones that we've got here. I think that's all of them because the other ones are ones that I wrote based on our conversation. Economic development, SWOT, comprehensive review of the AMC this goes back to streamlining, and then economic development consultant. Yeah, Robert.
Does the city of Atwater participate in PG&E's Rule 20 where they collect funds for undergrounding unsightly utility facilities?
All right. Yes. There's something really magical about a yes/no question. Thank you for that one. Okay, so we got section 6. We're on the last stretch here. Input. So this is improve quality of life. It's pretty broad, and we've talked a lot about this throughout the whole thing because everything we're doing, it goes down to quality of life. Improve code enforcement. We got code enforcement here a couple times. Better park maintenance. Engage community organizations. So just looking at the ones that are on here, maintain and refresh parks and facilities to provide quality experiences. So that's, we looking at that plan from 5 years ago, that's definitely a priority. use of Atwater High School and Buhack High School swimming pools for adult lap swim. That is, okay, 6.4, evaluate the costs of services for recreational programs and explore opportunities for cost savings program sharing and partnerships with nonprofit organizations and maybe schools. We add schools on that, right? To 6.4, yeah. Did you have a comment?
I'm just waiting for my moment. You're about to say it. Just go to the next one.
Oh, the next one is dog park.
That's right.
All right, go for it.
So I'll just say I'm tired of loading my 3 little puffy Pomeranians up in my car and driving them to the city of Merced to go to the dog park. So there is that. And I would love to see us invest in or provide some sort of a reimbursement to the trap and release program for spaying and neutering. I think we need to think about something like that as well.
Okay.
But I'll go back to the dog park and say it was on the plan then, and it should stay on the plan now.
Yes, we do have 6.5, identify potential locations for a community dog park. Okay, did you want to talk about that? Okay, yeah, so, we're talking about this. There's a few different parks we have, and some are utilized more than others. But if you look at, this is just an idea, there's a grassy field behind the old city hall. I'm calling it the old city hall. It's a police department now, police station. It's got some trees, and it's got the community development trailer that we don't use anymore because we moved to downtown. So there's an opportunity there. Maybe we explore converting that space into a dog park. Okay, I'm seeing some anticipation, some smiles. Okay, well, we'll look at that. So we got dog park up. The parking lot is completely wide open. Right. We already have a parking lot. It's like win-win, right? Okay. Let me go back up to here. Improve existing parks, expand parks. Yeah, it's like maintain and refresh parks. Volunteer pathways, city pool. Love Atwater. That could be 6.6. Support community cleanup and other beautification events and opportunities. I think we used to do Love Atwater. I think it went away. You were talking about that, Gloria? Yeah, so it's a team effort. We partner with community members that care. Go ahead.
I've been waiting for 6. Just like Kalisa's, her dog park. For those who don't know me, I am a retired police officer of the city of Atwater. Spent 30 years as a reserve and full-time officer. I got a little scared when we were talking about the retirement benefits, but I think we're going to be going past that. I also, for 14 years, I was the executive director for the Police Activities League. And we had 9 programs going. And Atwater Pale kind of connects a lot of these things, safety, promoting transparency, community communication, improving quality of life. What we had done was, again, we had a nonprofit, Atwater Pale, and we had, again, the 9 programs. One was the BMX track. I have almost 35 BMX bikes that are sitting in a storage right now because it would be great to get that track back up and running. I understand that you're the man I got to talk to about that. We had a club that did the maintenance on it, and they had their races, and of course that brought revenue to the city of Atwater. And then we had a Pell night where the kids would come out. We provide the bikes and the helmets, and we had the kids go. Again, I still have the 35 bikes. They're not all running in great condition. However, I had a waiting list of kids coming there, trying to get on there. So that's connected. Our police chief here is working towards community policing, and I tell you what, Pell is part of that. He's got the CSOs going. He's got the chaplain program going. He's He's starting the volunteer program. I'm actually Victor too. I'm an official volunteer, but it's only Joan Fall and me right now. So, we can't do everything. And then the traffic officers, back in the day, we actually hitched a big barbecue to a pickup truck. We went to the neighborhoods, and the fire department showed up, and we had community involvement, going back to the transparency and communication. We did that. But the Pell program, again, we had 9 programs. We actually, through the years, we served about close to 2,000 youth and families, because we had the Junior Giant program during the summertime. We had an after-school program. We had a theater program. What I needed, so I've been kind of working. Well, I'm not kind of. I've been working with the police department. Been working with the city. Everybody has just been outstanding, wonderful with me, because I want to bring back the Pell program. And the first group I want to bring back is going to be the youth leadership kids. We used to call them ATAC, Atwater Teen Advisory Council, going back into the schools where the kids get credit for community service. They also do community service, and they actually run their own meetings. And the advisors, we obviously advise, but the whole idea was to get these young people talking about these different clubs. I mean, I was with Rotary for many years, and it's just like everybody else, couldn't get volunteers. Well, again, we're getting these kids into the cycle. We're getting them in there. And also, when you're with the Atwater Police Activities League, that means that police officers are involved. We have a brand new board. I'm back as executive director, and on the board I have a police officer, and I hope, and I've talked with the APOA, with Officer Goodwin, and they're 100% behind us. That he's actually talking about fundraisers and all of that stuff. So anyway, quality of life and a lot of other stuff here. And then my last pitch on this, because I know we want to get out of here, is that since we're a nonprofit, and John kind of brought up a point, was that we're pretty penniless. So I've applied for grants. I'm going to be making the rounds with the Lions and the Tigers and all the other clubs that I have to go through to beg for some money. APOA has given us a donation of $500, which is a start. But in order to get insurance for the kids and also get insurance for our board, it's going to take more than that.
Okay.
So that's about my 2 cents.
Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm really glad that you stepped up and that you're helping.
I will just say that I know Joe Hoffer personally. I think you're a wonderful man, and I am so grateful that you were willing to come back to Atwater Police Department and volunteer your time. I know that time is valuable, and so I just want to say again how much I appreciate you. I will just say that we as a city have to make these investments in our kids. It's important. And all of these things tie into promoting safety and stability. And so, we need to show the community as a city that we're willing to make these investments. And I want to commend our chief for being open, coming into the city, and Joe was primed and ready to have the conversation with our chief, and he was so kind and open, and I just want to commend you for allowing Joe to giving him the opportunity to come into the city and do this work, because I can promise you that you will not be disappointed. And I think just us making those investments, even starting small like that, makes a huge difference for our kids. And so it's all tied to the future of promoting safety and stability. Even though it's not directly related, it's related.
Absolutely. Yeah, Keith.
Real fast, because I have to leave. And this is off topic a little bit. I hope that this new plan doesn't get put into a drawer and forgot for the next 5 years. I would suggest maybe every 6 months or so, is brought onto the agenda, and the council can look at it to start marking things off. So it's always fresh in their minds, and they can start seeing that this stuff's taken care of. Thanks for putting this on. It's been great.
Thank you very much. I'm going to put 6-month review on here. Even though it's not here, it'll be kind of more general for the whole document. Thanks for that idea. Yeah.
And just real quick, we were talking about the economic development and quality of life, and I think the two come together. One of the things that, I've heard from people, and I've kind of said it myself and all that, if there's somebody that was considering or thinks that Atwater might be a viable location to either buy a house, a business, whatever, one of the things that I always thought about is when you come down 99, if you come off, if you're coming north to south and you come off on Atwater Boulevard, if you're coming down on a weekend, they got that flea market thing going on there, and if you don't grease somebody walking across the road, then fine, but then you pass up that, and then you see under the overpass, you see homeless sitting over there, and on farther down, and the oleanders are all whacked down, so it looks pretty ugly there. And my point is, somebody would come down Atwater Boulevard, and they're looking around, and they're seeing all this, and they're going, oh my God, and they're just going to keep on going, get right back on the freeway and keep trucking. So I think that, we touched on it with this Love Atwater, but I think it has to go beyond that. I think that, some kind of a conscious beautification, if you will, program, to make eye appeal more of that. And Brian, you're in real estate. You know how important that is. It's one of those things where, if you make it look like an inviting place, then it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I think that goes to the economic development also. Mm-hmm. When it comes to somebody coming in, are you going to want the place, looking like a ghetto, or do you want to have your store set up in a nice place? Which I wanted to ask also. Behind Applebee's, is that all phase 1 over there, or is any of that property right there available as well for development?
Are you talking about the vacant property to the east of Applebee's?
It's to the south, actually. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay, yeah, yep.
That's city property, or is that
no,
property for development?
I don't think this. Yeah.
It's all phase 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's phase 1 going to do with it? Because my point is that if phase 1 is just going to let it be dirt out there, maybe it'd be, something to, explore possibilities of how can that be part of development. It's just, when we had the sewer plant there and it went away, and then that got, kind of pushed to the side there for development, and now phase 1 has it and nothing's going on. That's been going since 2017 to I know.
Okay. Yeah, it needs to be developed.
Yeah, and one last thing. If anybody has ever been to San Luis Obispo, if you look at their downtown area there, I look at that as a real model for what Broadway and that area over there could look like. I mean, it's on a much smaller scale, but man, I'll tell you, this one thing, when I go and I visit my in-laws down there in Morro Bay and San Luis Obispo, that is one place I really like to go to. They've got some really neat restaurants down there, and, the streets are real clean, and it's just a cool place to go down to. And, if something like that could be implemented, here and just kind of emulate some of that stuff, we would have everything going on. And the problem that also I see is, Merced develops and has a lot of stuff going on because it's got the college influence over there. And one of the things that burns me is that for years, as the college was developing out there, City of Atwater was kicking down $10,000 annually for marketing and promotion for that college. Okay. And we've gotten nothing out of it. So that I remember Rudy Trevino when he was mayor, And he and I were on the same page on that. It was wasted money. And, we should be, reaping some of that benefit, and we're not.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Jim. Okay, I think I've read everything on here. Youth wellness, yeah.
I'm out of town. Do you guys do farmers markets in town here?
Farmers market. I don't think that's on any of this, but it could be.
We've looked at doing a farmer's market in the off season of the ice rink.
Yeah.
It's pretty arduous. The permitting process to with the ag commissioner and stuff like that, and then getting all the vendors. That you can't just have people just come and sell stuff. With the 4th of July committee, there's health permits, everything. So a lot of vendors and stuff are discouraged from doing it. They're already involved in Merced and Turlock. It's a possibility, but a big thing like John touched on, volunteers. We had somebody that went through and in our organization and figured out all the permitting processes, started working on it and stuff, and then they just kind of faded away. And we've got a lot going on with other things that we do, and we would love to do it, but we just don't have the volunteers. It takes a volunteer to do it, because you've got to be out there every single week, checking vendors in, making sure that they have all their permitting, everything is set up correctly. Then you got to report that to the ag commissioner and the state. There's a lot that goes on with it.
And we've got partner with county probation and adopt a park or a street. So I just want to thank everybody for coming here and sharing all this good information. So the next step is for us to get this all recorded and compiled and produce a new document based on all of this and the plan from 5 years ago as that foundation, and bring that to City Council for review and hopefully approval. So I really appreciate everyone's time this morning. And so probably June, July. So when we bring that to council. Yeah. That's the idea. So the next budget meeting is on June 9th. Okay, well, thank you all. Have a wonderful Saturday and enjoy your weekend.